Hey, Montel Williams here. Look, I've got some incredible news to share with you. I want to tell you about my brand new book that's coming out that's called The Sailing of the Intrepid. Now, this book is more than just an historical account. It's a tribute to the brave men who served aboard the USS Intrepid and a celebration of their extraordinary legacy. Writing this book was such an incredible story, and I'm really thrilled to be able to share it with you. So don't wait to grab your little piece of history. The book is available right now to order. You can go to montelmedia.com, and you can even get a limited autograph signed copy. Now, thank you so much for your support. I can't wait for you to read this incredible story of the sailing of the Intrepid. I'll see you on the pages. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Let's Be Blunt with Montel. It's a podcast where we dig into important conversations about cannabis, advocacy, and the real stories behind these issues. Today, we're talking about a tough but absolutely necessary topic: individuals who are still serving time in prison for cannabis. Meanwhile, legal cannabis businesses are thriving in this country, all over the country. Our guest today knows this issue better than almost anyone. He's been through it himself and been through the system himself, spending 8 years in a federal prison for a first-time cannabis offense. Since getting out, he's built a life around advocacy for those still incarcerated while also establishing himself in Minnesota's legal cannabis industry. Please welcome the CEO of Freedom Soda and Laughing Waters Smoke Shop, Travis Cullen. Travis, thanks so much for being a part of the show today. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. Look, thank you so much. And look, let's get started from the beginning. Why don't you share with us a little bit about your story? What happened to you happened at the age of 21, and
Yes.
It led you to a sentence of 8 years in prison, but your sentence was longer. You just got out after 8 years.
Yes.
Take us back to the beginning. Take us back to the beginning and tell us what happened. Take me back to where you grew up, what's going on, what were you doing before this happened, and then what happened when you got busted.
Okay. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I grew up in a suburb, St. Louis Park, Minnesota. I graduated high school in 2000. And the market in Minnesota for cannabis was exploding then. If you had any transported cannabis from out of state, it could sell right away. I started selling cannabis young in high school. I actually went to juvenile detention for selling a quarter pound. I graduated high school from juvenile detention, and I got out on my 18th birthday. And when I got out of juvenile, I was just like, I want to sell cannabis. I got back with my friends from high school, and we started selling cannabis.
And I mean, so you're rolling with the homie, selling as much as you could. No intent of going to college or anything like that.
I didn't even think about it. I was so young, and I think I was mature to like with my friends, but my thoughts was just like so much cannabis back then. If you trafficked a pound from Los Angeles to Minnesota, the pound was $300 to $200 in Los Angeles. Then you get it to Minneapolis, it's $700, and it's sold quick because there's no the market appetite was so insane. The second we got it there, it sold. So I was really intrigued by that business, and I knew I could make millions of dollars.
Gotcha. So take me through the event that ended up getting you busted.
So as I progressed in my marijuana dealing, I got a little older. I was 19, 20. I was getting marijuana delivered from Canada, and we were selling the high grade BC buds. And then so I would take that, and that was all fronted to me. So we were paying like $3,000 a pound. They had front us 200 pounds. So I would have like $600,000 of the Canadians' money. And then I always sold brickweed from California too as part of my business. So the particular bust I got caught on, I sent a driver to California to pick up 700 pounds of brickweed. On the way back, I wasn't there. I just sent him out there with the money. On the way back, the driver got pulled over in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And the DEA has a program they do when they pull over drivers with loads. They try to get them to flip right away, because we were watching them. And if we wouldn't have heard from him, I wouldn't have contacted him again, but he flipped immediately, and he called me on the phone and said, "Hey, I got that load for you. I'm here." And I of course said, "Yes, great." You know, I was a young kid. I didn't understand that. I just signed myself up for 11-year sentence federal prison by acknowledging that I was behind sending him to California with the conspiracy laws. Long story short, I got sentenced to 135 months in federal prison because of that 700-pound load. I was a first-time felon as an adult, and they just kind of threw the book at me. So I served from 2004 to 2013 in federal prison, ages 21 to ages 30.
Go back for a second. You jump past this real quick. You're at home. You call his friend.
Yeah.
Okay, go through it. Give me some detail.
Yeah, I remember clearly like it was yesterday. I maybe was watching your show during the day. Minnesota. They're always on Fox 9. So I called him up. I said, "Hey, where are you at? What's going on?" He said, "Man, I've been driving all night, Travis. I'm almost there. Do you want me to bring the load inside the house?" And anybody that's ever dealt with 700 pounds of weed, it's a lot. It's a big, the whole truck was full. And then, me young, I was like, yes, bring it in the house. Like right when I did that, I was incriminated, and they had me busted so tight that going through the process of my case, it was either I was going to cooperate and tell on everybody I know and gave them all the information I know, or they were just going to throw the book at me because the evidence was so good. So yeah, me incriminating myself on that phone call really was a huge fate in my 20s.
The truck pulls up, then they pull up and bust you? Is that how it happens?
So unfortunately, I had a restaurant at the time, and I went and worked at my restaurant. I woke my best friend up out of bed, Ben. I said, "Hey, Ben, we were high school friends, best friends through high school. We're still best friends to this day." I said, "You got to go meet the driver because I got to go work." We were partners, working together. He said, "No problem." Ben pulls up to the truck. The marshals pull out with guns and arrest him. And then they came and got me at my restaurant. I was sitting in there working, thinking no big deal. And they came in, asked me my name, and then the Cadillacs pulled up just like in the movies. And the DEA and FBI arrested me. And I was thinking like, I didn't do anything. I don't have anything. And I said, I would have came and talked to you guys. But they clearly looked at me and they said, "Your life just changed, Travis. I don't know what you got going on, but this is taking precedent."
Wow. And take me through the dark moment in your mind. What were you thinking?
Well, first thing I'm thinking is I'm at my restaurant down by the U of M, 1517 Como Avenue, Como Grill. They bring me to a nondescript building downtown Minneapolis. It's like a DEA thing. So I really don't know what's going on. I kind of think maybe we had so much going on. I had so many loads coming in and out. We had a lot going on. With the marijuana business is good. That's why I'm so excited about it when it's legal. But I heard my best friend, Ben, I heard him just talking to whatever. He just said, "Yeah, I need something to a guard." And I was like, when I heard him, I was like, "Ben." And he's like, he didn't want to say he knew me, but I was like, right when I heard his voice, I knew the gig was up. I knew I was in big trouble.
Oh shit! Then you sat there. Did they talk to you at that point in time? Did they just say, "You're busted, you're done"?
They said, when I heard Ben, they're like, "Okay." Now they're looking at me like, "Now you know why you're here." So it's like, I don't have. It's either you go in and sell your soul and tell on all your friends. And me and Ben decided not to do that. I got 135 months, and Ben got 78 months just for going to meet him. But if we would have cooperated in the government's eyes, we're not bad people anymore. It's a really weird system, the federal system.
Wow. So they took you that day, that night, put you in a prison or put you in a jail cell?
It was over with. Yep. Well, they put me in jail. And then because I was a first-time felon, they let me out on house arrest, but they ended up violating my house arrest and putting me in jail. But yeah, that instant happened March 23rd, 2004. I was sentenced December 22nd, 2004 to 135 months. It did not take long at all.
And I mean, what was going on with your family? Were you living at home alone?
Yeah, I was living.
You were making a lot of money, so you had enough money to cover your legal bills and stuff, right? Or no?
Yeah, I hired the best legal lawyer, I believe, in Minnesota, Joe Freiberg. Bless his heart. He passed away recently. He did a very good job. The prosecutor was out to get me so bad from the beginning. He actually asked for 210 months at my sentencing. When you get sentenced, and when you catch a case in the federal system, they have a guideline point system, and my level was level 31, category 3. 135 months. And at my sentencing, the judge or the prosecutor tried to get me my acceptance and responsibility take away. And he really just tried to give me 210 months. My judge had to intervene and give me the lowest that the judge was allowed to give me, 135 months.
Wow. And I mean, when you heard that, when that gavel went down, smack, he said 135 months. I mean, you must have felt like, holy moly, man! Come on now, this is something. What was it already legal in Minnesota?
It was just getting dispensaries going in California. And I remember I said that even you saying that, Montel, brings tears to my eyes. It was a very, very painful, tragic experience. I'm 40 years old right now, and I've still spent a quarter of my life in prison because of that case. And yeah, it hurt me a lot. And you're young. I was 21, and I'm looking at 111 years. It's like, man, I've only been alive 21 years, and now I got to go do 11 years. And I didn't even hurt anybody. No, I didn't understand it at all. But you got it. Life, you learn. You just got to make the best out of stuff. Even the toughest situations. If you sit and dwell on it, you're only going to make it worse for yourself. So it was a big learning curve for sure.
And that 11 years must have felt like 100 years, right?
Yes, it was really bad. I remember when I was in Terre Haute, Indiana, federal prison, and I was in the chow line, and it was like Thanksgiving. I just always remember this. I was like, man, I got to do this Thanksgiving, next Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving after that, the Thanksgiving after that, the Thanksgiving after that, Thanksgiving after that. So yeah, I honestly don't know how I did it. And being so young, and I was from the suburbs. I'm a Minnesota guy. There wasn't a lot of Minnesota guys. A young white kid in Terre Haute. I look at my cousins, how young they look at the age of 21. Like I didn't realize. I thought I knew everything, but it was a man's world in there, and I had to grow up quick for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, I mean, during that period of time, did you think, well, did you do the majority of your sentence?
Yeah, well, so what happened with me is Booker and Blakely came out and they made the guidelines advisory. So I started with a 135 month sentence, and the judge told me at my sentencing, and my case is in Google, the appeal, everything. He said, based on your sentence and the guidelines and what's in front of me, with the guidelines being mandatory, this is the lowest sentence I can give you, because the judge wasn't feeling it anyway. So I appealed that, because later Blakely made the guidelines advisory. They sent me back for resentencing like 3 years later. And I was hoping to get the 60 month minimum mandatory, but the judge, he took 24 months off. He gave me 111 months, and I served 8 years on that. So me having that appeal kind of gave me a lot of hope throughout the case, but still 8 years, it was a long time. It took a toll on me.
And while you're sitting in prison over that 8 year period of time, then the program in Minnesota expanded, right? I mean, went from just a fledgling legal program to a pretty much a legal program. And you're saying I'm in prison for something that's now legal.
Yeah, it was more of so Minnesota, I got out in 2013, and cannabis was not that legal yet. We had the medical program here, but I just was so turned off by the industry, because you learn in federal prison that there is no trust in selling drugs. If you sell somebody 1,000 pounds of weed, you get away with it. That guy gets a DWI or beats his wife and kills her. He can tell on you and get time off later. So I was so turned off by any sort of conspiracies. I started a granite countertop business, and I was working that, not even really thinking about cannabis. And then Minnesota legalized in 2020 after I had been out 6 years. And I was like, this is it. I'm going. And I went all in.
Mm-hmm. And you've dedicated yourself to, not along the way, you started that other business, but you had dedicated yourself to advocating for others who were still trapped in the system, right?
I would say I started advocacy in a business to pay for my advocacy. Because what happened to me, Montel, was I'm 42 years old now, 43 years old, excuse me. The older I get, I think about my community more. I think about everything. So the second I sold the first piece of cannabis, low dose edible, and made money in my store, or actually, I think even before I started making money, I remembered the guys in federal prison doing life sentences, and it just changed everything. I got with the nonprofit group Freedom Grow. I started with them, and then I just been propelled like crazy to represent those people inside federal prison, because I know what it's like not to have a voice in there. So yes, I've done a lot of advocacy, and the things I've done is I started this Freedom Gummies. We've donated already $50,000 to the inmates in prison. Last 420. I had the 420 Day of Unity in Washington, D.C., where I organized it. It was a big deal. We brought out people that Trump actually let out of federal prison, cannabis prisoners, brought them to Washington, had a big event to get advocacy going. Before Trump was in office, I was working the Democrats hard for clemency. I know the pain, and it affects me so greatly going to these big meetings, going to all and seeing all this big money, and then they're still in prison. Edwin Rubis is still in prison. He's been in prison 27 years. Parker Coleman is still in prison. He's been in prison 50 years with a 60-year sentence for cannabis conspiracy. And yeah, it's my passion. It's absolute passion until these people are free.
But it drives you crazy knowing though that you're now able to make money off of what put you in jail.
Yes, and the only thing that helps heal me is helping these incarcerated individuals. I like Valerie Flores. She's a woman, 32 years old. She just got done serving 7 years for cannabis. I was there at the day she got out. We helped her get a car. I put it all on. It's so, because it's just like who I am. I'm a convict that loves cannabis. So I feel like I can be the best advocate ever for these people.
Well, talk to real quick, throw out some stats, give out some information about where people can go if they want to donate or help the Freedom Grow program.
Yeah, I like Freedom Grow, and then I have Freedom Soda, and we give the profits to individuals. We're in 5 states right now. I actually just got my dispensary license in that same city that I went to juvenile detention. I graduated high school from Hopkins, and now I'm going to be opening a dispensary in Hopkins. But I graduated high school from Hopkins because I was in juvenile detention for selling cannabis. So it's like, and I got arrested close to where my dispensary is. So yeah, people want to support. The main thing is when you hear, if you're a business owner in the cannabis space, I think the cannabis customers are amazing. I think the cannabis customers love us and will support us. But if we could have more business owners, like we've had Kyle Kazan from Glass House, he stepped up and he's funding a bunch of important work with like Weldon Angelos. Like if the amount of money that's made in the cannabis space, the business owners would start lobbying Washington, everybody would be released.
Well, give out some information about where people can go if they want to help. What's it called? freedomgrow.com.org.
Freedomgrow.com. I love Freedom Grow. There are people out here that sell our pain, and it's very hurtful when it's misguided with disingenuous organizations. So my main thing is stay away from them and just help the individuals that been through the pain. We're getting places like with me owning a dispensary and stuff like that. It's like the ex-incarcerated individuals are seen in public doing positive things. You know, maybe there will be more of them.
For those people who are tuning in right now, listening and saying, well, you rolled the dice and you got the 7, you know what I mean? You got busted. Mm-hmm. So, and you're out. But, what do you say to those people listening who aren't aware of how big this issue really is? Because, right now we think when you throw out the numbers, I guess Texas just passed medical cannabis. So we're now up to I think we're at 40 states. I gotta do some research to dig again. And the District of Columbia that have a legal cannabis program of some sort, medical or rec. So people think that, oh, no, nobody's getting busted anymore. But people are still going to jail right now.
Exactly. It was really bad with the federal system in the 2000s and 2012s. But to those people, I would argue the severity of the sentence is the problem. And I would argue, since I've been in the cannabis space, I've done so much research on the origination of cannabis laws. And our laws for cannabis are completely unfounded. They go back to the first arrest in Colorado was Samuel Caldwell and Moses. And it's just propaganda because Colorado was the only place. This is my theory on why, besides the hemp companies, Colorado was the only place during the Great Dust Bowls and the Depression where people could work in the sugar beet fields. So what did the governor of Colorado do? He was so afraid of hardworking immigrant labor coming in, he actually banned everybody from coming in his borders. And that, after they tried to stop the immigrants from working on the sugar fields during the Depression, the Mexicans, they had to let them work, and then they targeted them, the Mexicans and the African Americans. They targeted them through marijuana laws to harass them and put them in jail. And it was so interesting, as me, as a Caucasian, I'm very white, I got caught up in this whole system. And I hate to say it, because it happened to me, I'm very concerned and I want to change it. I wish I was just like he had huge vibrations where I understood, like, hey, that was wrong. But no, I understand this is racist. Our laws are racist. We need to correct them, and we need to correct the severity of the sentences. And I offer a 5-year minimum, a 5-year maximum sentence for cannabis. I have people doing life sentences. That's the problem, the severity of the sentences.
It's really crazy, right? But I mean, there should be no sentences at all. That's what I think.
I agree, but
talk a little bit more about your dispensary and how you've been. You started the cannabis soda. What do you call it?
Freedom Soda.
Freedom
So
soda.
yeah,
That was the brand.
yeah, Freedom Soda came out of me so hurt by being in prison. I would go to these events and I'd see everybody acting like there's a lot of beverage. It's a THC beverage. It kind of started in Minnesota. We have a huge beverage market here. And I would go to these events and I'd see all these middle-class people and all these people that have really never seen any struggle in their whole life, dropping all these brands, and they come up with these names and they're like, hey, I discovered this. Like, no, you didn't. You didn't discover anything. Me and my people have been serving prison time for this for a long time. And right on my package, it says, no one should be in jail for a plant. And, we donate the money. It's not really a moneymaker. It's a cry out to the cannabis community. Help these people that are incarcerated. There's power in numbers.
Absolutely. And then, so you started that brand first.
Yep.
And that was kind of altruistic. And then how were you able to get your license? Talk about that.
I went in for the micro. I waited. It was first come, first serve in the city I went. So I was lucky I got into a city with caps. The state of Minnesota, I believe, has a great program for cannabis, and the small business are let in, and people with a felony like mine got social equity. So with my social equity, the state called it, I was able to put in and get my license earlier before everybody else. And when I had that license, I went into a very desirable city that has a 3 cap limit. And because the state of Minnesota, through their legislation, they said that basically you shouldn't have went to prison, Travis. They kind of gave me a couple bonuses. And through social equity, I'm in the dispensary right now. I have the site located. I got the city approval, and we're remodeling it right now.
So your doors aren't open yet?
No, we should be open in about 6 weeks. We will be one of the first in the metro. There isn't any recreational dispensaries in the Minneapolis metro area yet. The only dispensary as of today that's been open is the off the tribal recreational one up in Moorhead, Minnesota. So it should be exciting for the industry if I pull this off, because I don't believe this is going to be a big dispensary. I've saved a lot of money. I've worked really hard on this. It's going to be a big deal. I don't think we've had anybody that served 8 years for cannabis is a dispensary owner. And I look forward to that trend continuing.
That's incredible. And how has, cannabis prohibition influenced the way you're going to operate your business? Because are you always looking over your shoulder thinking that, remember, the feds can still come in and like they just did last week in California, come in and roll over a couple of farms. Are you looking over your shoulder? What are you doing?
Well, I have the utmost respect for law enforcement. I don't antagonize them, and I'll follow the state rules to the T, but I am not scared at all. My mission is to make as much money so I can donate as much money to fix these harms that have caused my people. I don't have a lot of family. I view the people that are incarcerated on cannabis charges as my brothers and sisters, and that loyalty to them makes me put on the nice clothes, makes me try my hardest every day, because I know I can help those people. So I don't care at all.
You got to be, you're clearly in favor of the fact that promoting equity in cannabis and having these equity opportunities available to other people like yourself. You got to be really over the moon for that, right?
Oh, it's the most important thing in the world for the industry. I don't think that anything matters besides repairing the harms of locking these people up for cannabis. I just don't think that there's anything more important than fixing that. And if I have to do it with my own profits, I will do it.
Well, let's talk about your dispensary. I mean, what's going to set you apart? I mean, first off, you're going to be one of the first, but I mean, are you going after specific products, specific things? Or you clearly have your drink, but are you going to be selling more flower? Are you doing concentrates, or you want to do it all?
Well, we're looking forward to selling flower. I'm looking forward to selling flower, concentrates, the best cannabis at the cheapest prices. My firm business belief is that it's a plant and it should be grown in the ground and given away for free. So I don't see this as a profit. I don't see cannabis as like, yes, it makes money. Don't get me wrong. But like if I make $100,000 based on what I've done, I'm going to put 40,000 into helping people that have been victimized by the drug war. It's not about the money at all for me.
So you're going to be doing a lot of community involvement events to make sure that people understand the message as well as.
Yeah. And the people, when they get out, my thing is like, I did 8 years, so I understand how hard it is to re-enter society. I was very committed in prison. I read a lot of books and I was committed to working construction, and like, that's all you can do. But so when the people get out, they're going to be working at my dispensary. They're going to be getting their own brands, and they're really going to be supported by me. And that makes me feel better than anyone. I already have a lady that's going to come work in there. She served 5 years for cannabis. And they'll have the resources for when people need help that have been incarcerated. It's really going to be a big platform for me to help people.
And what advice would you give to others who are considering entering the cannabis industry through these kind of social equity programs? Do you think that more people should be like you, thinking about let's pass it on, make sure we continue to pay it forward?
Yeah, I think they should attack it and not be intimidated. People, especially cannabis prisoners, we're stars. I believe we're all very special. If we went to prison and stood up and didn't rat, I prefer the non-rats. It's a special thing, and tell your story. I went to the first public meeting about cannabis in my work clothes from the granite shop, dusty as heck. But when I got up and I told everybody in that room that was these cannabis people, I've learned they're trying to figure out who they are. They're trying to figure out their brands. I just had to show up and tell them I was Travis. I smoke every day and I represent the prisoners and I love cannabis and I love the community. I would just say, be yourself. That's what works for me.
And so far now, your dispensary is on the drawing board. So what's been the most rewarding aspect of pulling this together, designing your dispensary? What's been what are you most excited about when it comes
Just going
to
legal, being legal, not being a criminal, being able to do what I know really well legally, and having my mom see me not risk going to prison, and having my family not seeing me in prison and doing what I love. I don't know anything else but cannabis and selling it. When I was doing granite countertops, I was lost in that industry. I was working my butt off, but it's not where I belonged.
What can other people do to get involved to help in these situations and help those people that have been incarcerated? What do you want to say to them? People that are thinking, well,
I would say, well, really, I think that and I'll just say this because everybody goes crazy. I'm a Democrat, all right? I'm friends with Ilhan Omar, but Trump is doing an amazing job on criminal justice reform. And I would say look forward to a bunch more releases. And when he releases people on clemency power, because that's the only way people are getting out with life sentences, clemency. We need the presidential powers to fix this problem. When you read about those releases, Google their names, send them some money, be proactive. And then I always support Freedom Grow. I think Freedom Grow, they got good hearts. And if somebody just wants to support an organization, I would say Freedom Grow.
You said something very interesting a couple of minutes ago. You said that you really were blown away about what Trump has been doing in one phase, but now I don't know if you've heard recently that he and his cadre are trying to figure out how to roll back cannabis laws, which is impossible with the number of states that we have right now that have some form of legal cannabis. I mean, if tomorrow the Fed decided, like they just did last week in Southern California, to try to destroy the industry, or destroy a little piece of the industry. It's all they're going to do is push it back underground. What do you think?
I think the cat's out the bag. They can't put it back in. Obama let it rock for a long time. And after Trump didn't really tamp it down when he was in office, and cannabis has gone too far, and Trump knows that. Trump's going to be good on cannabis. That's what I know, and I've heard. He's not against cannabis, and there might be rhetoric coming from the administration or from like people under him, but the guy on top is for cannabis, and that's interesting versus the Democrats. So when I went to Washington 4 or 5 times last year trying to work on the Democrats because I really thought Biden was going to let the cannabis prisoners out, but he failed us. But when you go to the Democrats, they love the issue. They're like, Travis, you're right. You're on point. I became friends with Ilhan Omar. I talked to Senator Klobuchar, and they all love the issue, but there was no movement on the top. So with the with Trump, we have a guy that likes it on top, and everybody underneath him is kind of like not very good on cannabis, and grab them. And everybody underneath Trump is on cannabis, not good at all. So
you think he's going to be able to convince them to back off a little bit and let's let this thing move forward the way it should be as a legitimate business?
I think it's going to always just be a negotiation chip that they'll use to move it along, but I think it's going to move along. And more importantly, I think that Trump appointed Alice Marie Johnson. What he does with cannabis scheduling, like, honestly, Montel, as long as they don't arrest me, I don't care. Like, but let the people out of federal prison. So I think that Trump appointed Alice Marie Johnson is the pardon czar, in that with her, she served 20 years in federal prison, and Trump let her out.
I had her on this podcast. I don't know if you know that.
Wow. Yes. She is like our hope. We're all praying. Alice knows the pain. That's one thing I discovered too, of like when I went into business. I did 8 years in prison for cannabis. I did federal time. So anybody that did big federal time, we can literally just look at each other, Montel. I don't know, like you and Maury, you can have this connection of a talk show host, but like convict to convict, the fact that Trump put a real convict, Alice Marie Johnson is a real convict. She suffered like us. The fact that he put her in a position of power, I'm like, oh, that's great, because she knows what it's about. Like if you went in there and did the time, you know what it's about. That's why any little publicity I get, I'm like, free the people in federal prison, because I know how bad it is and they don't have any voice in there.
Gotcha, my friend. Well, look, I can't say thank you.
Great.
Well, Travis, I can't say thank you enough for sharing your story, and also thank you enough for fighting so hard for others. Before we wrap up, what's the one message or the one call to action you want our audience to walk away with today?
I have a Freedom van with 5 inmates on it. I drove around Washington all year last year. I call it the clemency van. It says, we need clemency now. If anybody Googles me, they'll see it. So I just want to talk about those 5 inmates. Ishmael Lira, life sentence for cannabis. Edwin Rubis, 40 years for cannabis. He's already served 27. Mickey Woods, life sentence for cannabis out in Canada. They brought him down, extradited him. He's already served about 12, 14 years. Frank Rogers, 22 years for cannabis, and he's already served like 15 years of that. Parker Coleman, my dear friend, I've actually been in to visit Parker. It brings tears to my eyes what happened to him, because he got convicted when he was 23 years old with a 60-year sentence for cannabis conspiracy. So basically 50 people went into court and said, yes, Parker sold a bunch of weed. He did a bunch of bad stuff. There was no violence on his case, nothing. And as someone who went in when I was 21 and I was robbed of a lot of my youth, I know what he's going through. I've been in to visit him. We need to get Parker Coleman out of federal prison. So that's what I leave the audience.
If people wanted to help you, where would they go? Throw out your digits. Let them know how to reach you.
Travis Cullen. Yeah, please follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Travis Cullen TC. I'm on LinkedIn. If anybody has a story, or you need help, or you need to talk to somebody who's been through it, or you want resources for people that are incarcerated, I'm your guy.
Thinking about writing a book on this, my friend?
I'm actually, I'm surprised you said that. I'm working on a book right now about Samuel Caldwell and Moses Baca, the first bust in American history. And it's just so interesting how racism and everything played a role. This guy, Samuel Caldwell, he actually went to federal prison in 1932 for liquor. He was one of the last guys to go in for bootlegging. And then this poor guy gets out. And then in 1937, he's the first guy to get indicted on marijuana charges. He got, for 2 joints and 4 pounds, he got 48 months. So I'm trying to recapture all that in a book. I went to Colorado. They got a bunch of stuff in the library about it. I find it very interesting, the history of prohibition.
Can't wait for that book to come out. When it does, you come on back here and share it with us, all right?
Thank you. I appreciate you. I remember when I got kicked out of school, I'd watch your show, Montel. You're the man. Appreciate you.
Well, I thank you, my friend. And good luck to you. I hope your dispensary just blows up huge. I'll let you know. We'll let you know once we're done with this. But I'll give you some information about a couple of products that I have in the marketplace right now that you might want to carry in your dispensary.
Oh, yeah. We want them. 100%. 100%.
All right. Well, we've got some good products, and we've got some good, innovative, new things that a lot of people haven't done yet. So I'd like to be able to share it with you.
I love it, man. Thank you.
All right, brother. You be well. Take care of yourself. Take care of the family of yours, and good luck on your dispensary, okay?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Take care. And for you, keep tuning in to the next edition of Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Thanks for joining me on Let's Be Blunt with Montel. Please make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell to be notified when new episodes post each week. We'd love to hear your feedback also, so please send us your comments. Military Makeover is so grateful for the support of Purple Heart Homes, a nonprofit organization that rebuilds and transforms the homes for our veterans.
Our heroes come home with sacrifices most of us can't imagine. As a veteran myself, I've been there and founded Purple Heart Homes to help.
When I tell the story of Purple Heart Homes, it's the freedom to not have to depend on somebody else to do the simple everyday things in life.
Visit phhusa.org/makeover to learn how you can help.